record as the highest grossing opening of all time. And it's in the most theaters of all time. But what little is known about the mysterious crystal skull in the title, which is central to the film's plot. Believe it or not, crystal skulls mean big business, and some skulls are even considered priceless. To tell us a little bit about those moneymakers, we're joined by Eric Powell, senior editor of Archaeology magazine. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
What's the story with the crystal skull?
Well, the short story is they're fake. Yeah, I know. I hate to be the wet blanket on this, but it looks like actually our cover story of this issue is by an archaeologist who's looked at all of these crystal skulls, and she's shown that they were created using modern tools. So instead of being ancient Aztec, ancient Maya crystal skulls, they actually look like they surfaced in the 1860s, 1870s in the antiquities market. So they're fakes, but they were created for profit. So
they're fakes, and yet some of them, or I understand there's one really famous one, but some of them people will pay to do a seance, or I mean some crazy stuff.
Yeah, these things actually make money for the people who own them. People will pay money to go into a room, to be alone with a crystal skull, to sort of feel the vibrations and kind of get the vibe. And they're real believers in that these are really ancient artifacts, and they think. Some folks think they come from Atlantis, that aliens created them, but
you would say mid-19th century, I mean 1860s, like you said. I mean, yeah. That's still, I mean, that's still a long time ago. So is there some value to them?
I think so. I mean, and they're fakes, but they're still sort of valuable as a record of what people were thinking in the 19th century about crystal skulls. And the interesting thing is these all go back to one guy, Eugene Boban, who's this French antiquities dealer who looks to be making these to make a fast buck. He sells them in Paris and New York. Here in New York, he sells them to Tiffany's for $950 in 1886, which in 1886 that's nothing to sneeze at. I think $950 is like $40,000, $50,000 today. But
in today's environment.
But you think about it. His brainchild, the crystal skull, is now the basis for a movie that's going to gross what you were saying,
possibly 160, and that's what they're suggesting.
So I think Eugene Boban is somewhere up there, counting his cut on this and kind of smiling. I think it's pretty great that...
Looking down, getting pretty excited. Okay, right. So, Eric, did you see the movie?
I did see the movie.
What did you think? You're an archaeologist. I mean, when you look at these movies back from the early 80s, I mean, did it inspire you?
It totally inspired me, I have to say. It's not the reason I became an archaeologist, but the fact that Indiana Jones is sort of the representative for the discipline, ruggedly handsome adventure, it didn't hurt. And I think a lot of people my age in the 30s who are in this profession, I think would cop to having gone into it with a little nudge from Indiana Jones at the very least.
Yeah, so. give Indiana Jones some credit. Are you going to give him some credit for the installment, a 65-year-old man playing Indiana Jones? What did you think of the movie last night?
The plot is preposterous, archaeologically speaking. It's got its problems, but it rocks. I had a great time.
It rocks, and you told me you're going to see it as many as 3 times. Like me, I mean, frankly, I'd see it 2-3 times as well.
I think it's probably worth it.
What is it doing for the archaeology industry? Because you say, you know what, it's a fake, but it's the cover of your magazine. So clearly this is a big story, and it's doing something about, or talking more about the archaeology world.
It's a big deal for archaeologists. I mean, on the one hand, Indiana Jones is not a great archaeologist. I mean, he runs into temples, they crumble, he pulls out the loot. That's not great archaeology. But on the other hand, he is sort of the great ambassador for our profession. And it's actually interesting. Harrison Ford is a member of the Archaeological Institute of America, which is the biggest archaeological organization in the country. And he's a member in good standing. But Indiana Jones would probably get kicked out of the organization
for his behavior,
for his ethical lapses. Yeah.
All right, Eric. Just before we go, for people who are going to go watch this movie now, and people like me,
right.
Where can I go in the world to see some of these real great archaeological treasures? Not a museum, but to actually go see them up close and personal.
Go to Mesoamerica. I mean, there's some fantastic sites down there. Chichen Itza, Mexico City is a site, Tehuacan, right outside the city. Mexico's great for that. But there are also archaeological sites in the United States, near St. Louis. There are big mounds in New Mexico. I'd stay close to home. Go to New Mexico, go to St. Louis. There's some great archaeological treasures right here in the United States.
All right, Eric Powell, I'll do that and have fun going to the movie. I'm hoping to go today. We'll see. I'll let you know. I'll email you.
Excellent.
All right, Paramount spent, well, it says they spent up to $250 million making the Indiana Jones sequel, although I've seen numbers from 125 to 185 to 250. They're probably not going to tell us. But it's going to take a lot of crystal skulls to recoup that kind of money. Now let's head over to London and Ashley Webster for today's edition of the Duking Dollar.